Friends, we have been raising very critical discussions with regards to Nigerian politics, and we have also been responding to feedback in this respect. When we talk about the funny conception of politics, talking about how the citizens misappropriate their dynamics in determining good governance. This whole thing demonstrated in a whole whirlwind of coalitions, cross-carpeting, and all that, which stand to show that the political class is wrongly, or the political class, within the political class, there is the wrong conception that power alignments can actually be executed strictly by the political class with little input from the citizens. They have over time understood the dynamics of civic liability or citizens' irresponsiveness, and then we try to reawaken this discussion so that the citizens will be able to know their place in determining good governance. As I always say, democracy is not usually given on a platter of gold. It is usually struggled for, in most instances, by the citizens who themselves would have experienced the pinnacle, the peak of arbitrary governance, tyrannical governance, dictatorship. And when democracy is initiated, it is eternal vigilance by the citizens that stand to sustain democracy. It's not given on a platter of gold. And then in democracy is usually a journey and not a destination. Constantly, the citizens will continue to make impact with regards to how they are actually being governed. So relying on political society implies downplaying the dynamics of citizens' power. We also talk about modeling up of the milieu of the measurement of governance. I've not actually tackled this topic, but it was one of the things I've read out in my previous sessions that we'll actually talk about. What do I actually mean by that? Modeling of the milieu of the measurement of governance. In most instances, the idea of governance, especially drawing from those who are proponents or supporters of a particular government, or those who are actually attacking, who are those at the opposing end, have actually come from a certain very trivial yardsticks. For instance, a lot of people have been prematurely excited. I mentioned it even, there's a lot of excitement among the governors. If you watch the mood, this is the first time we are having all governors in other political parties, whether Labour Party, whether ABGA, whether PDP, or what have you. All the governors in all the political parties are singing the praises of Mr. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu and all that. It's quite understandable. The president came at his inauguration, announced the removal of subsidy. By implication, the governors, all the states now receive improved federal allocation. Most of them up to 100% increments. Some states who are even getting 3-4 billion per month now gets as much as 40 billion. You will agree with me, despite the inflation rate, you will actually agree with me that this is a hyper and super improvement that should interest the governors. The governors on their own should be impressed by that. That is what all the governors want. That is the dynamics of federalism. Federalism, in most instances, could be anchored on two tiers of the state and the federal government being the federating unit. But then there is no theory, no country is actually bound by already existing model of how their own federation will work or how their social system should actually be operated. Certain historical dynamics, cultural realities, and a whole lot of anthropological links and dynamics and all that play a role for a country to determine the best way to actually govern them. So they could borrow some ideals, like we talk about democracy, like we talk about monarchical system, and a whole lot of system of government. But the realities that operate within you, your historical experiences goes a very long way in actually conditioning what will be your political practice. So Nigeria Federation have actually been alternating whether to be a two-tiered federal system or a three-tier federal system if we should add the local government. And President Ahmed Bola Tinubu recently actually made some very, very positive inroad in trying to give the local government legal backing to become part of Nigerian federating unit. But that being said, what I'm actually saying is that there have been improved allocation to the state governors. How many state governors do we have in the country? We have 36 state governors and FCT. What is actually the implication of that? If all the state governors actually rebase human capital, rebase human capital in terms of salaries, in terms of employment, and then make sure that people are paid even above what federal government pays in terms of minimum wage and all that, you will actually discover that the challenges of human capital deficit would have actually been solved even up to 90%, since most Nigerians belong to states, and those states having employment outlets, having ventures where people are being employed, paying salaries as at when due, and paying quality salaries would have impacted a lot more Nigerians than even the federal government. Don't forget, if I use Delta State as an instance, Delta State is one state with over 8 tertiary institutions. Delta State have 4 universities, if I'm not mistaken, 4 state universities. These 4 universities, we have 4 vice chancellors who actually were paid. These 4 state universities, we have 4 registrars. These 4 state universities, we have 4 bursars. And a whole lot of the principal officers in those institutions are actually 4 principal officers of 5 per 1. Each of the state universities, that we have that 4 times 4, which is 12. And in most instances, it's actually more than 4 in terms of principal officers. And there are also other tertiary institutions, which is up to 4 too. And we are looking at 8 of them. So you know the implication how that will trickle down to the common man in the streets, the person selling orange, the cleaners, the artisans, the plumbers, and it's a whole lot of matrix of developmental engagement that is actually what far-fetched. You can't even its economic impact is something that is quite very deep-rooted and a whole lot of. So imagine in that instance and all that. Delta State, for instance, we talk about Delta State actually paid in terms of tertiary institutions. It used to be the second highest paying in the country after Rivers State University of Science and Technology, which at the time was even the highest paying. Then I think Taraba State University is the highest paying state university in the country. So imagine the implication of that. A professor who is actually well paid might have a research assistant who he sustains, might also have a typist, a clerk, secretarial staff who he or she sustains with the salary is actually given. So this is how the micro level works. You don't actually need to be an economist to understand these dynamics in measurement of governance. So this employment, this payment for salary, when due and quality salary, this opening up of more public ventures actually have more deep impact, and this actually is more impactful from the state level. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu got this right by improving allocations to the states. Then what does that tell us? It tells us there is need to channel our energy, more of it, to what the state governors do with these funds. There is need, to rescind the culture of praise chorale, singing praises to governors. We've seen instances where our measurement of good governance implies that somebody who uses the price that could buy a Rolls Royce, he fixes a bicycle, we all go on the streets, we all go on all the media we have access to, praising the person and all that. And we are not asking at what cost and what are we foregoing? Will we continue to have this kind of funds consistently? Are we actually asking the right question? The right question would have been, yes, this is done. What else would have been done with this amount of money that have actually been done and all that? And also in terms of assessing governance, we should be able to look at government projects. If you belong to a state and all that, every year the state passes a project, allocates money, and the state also, in some instances, informs the public of performance of that budget. Even if they don't do, the public should be able to question them to make available the statistics, makes available the document for the performance of that budget. And when we look at those performance and all that, in most instances, Every detail, every data imputed in that performance are the existing projects. We've seen instances where governors put in existing projects and claim billions for it. And in some states, people don't just want anybody to talk. The perspective with regards to assessment of governance in Nigeria is now being sacrificed at the altar of benchmarking of failure. When so person was there, he didn't provide this. Now this man came, he did it. When so person was there, he didn't actually complete this project. This man came and he actually did it. When so person was there, he didn't. Failure had become the yardstick of the measurement of governance in Nigeria. And then you ask yourself the question: where is critical citizenry? Where do we have this enlightened mass, the enlightened masses that should be able to determine how they are governed, the quality of governance that will actually come from the ruling elite? It's a very critical area of colossal deficit, and this is where civic activists need to play a very vital role in resonating this discussion so that our citizens should be able to be properly educated on how to convoke around the quality of critical citizenry that will make sure that governance offers its own very best.